Hello, it's Elaine. You can find me here. You can find me on Etsy as Nabi Wool Studio. You can find me on Instagram most of the time, and that's Elaine Tom. And you can find me on Facebook and Ravelry as Elaine Max Seb. So I think it's been about a month since I last did my podcast. The kids had a ski break, so I knew that I would be off for a couple of weeks, and then I needed a little time to get back into my own schedule and have time to podcast, and I'm fitting it in today. And it's actually sunny out, so the lighting is sort of good. I wanted to talk about a couple of my FOs today and some WIPS, and I'll try to answer some of the questions that you guys had posted that you wanted to hear me talk about, and then we'll see where it goes. So most recently, I think I finished my Hylia mitts, and this is a pattern from Alex Bird. This was a knit along run by the I think it's iKnit 7 shops in the UK, and Alex Bird's pattern. They had kits put together. I of course used my own yarns. I didn't purchase a kit, but so mine are made with Jameson of Shetland as the main color, the dark blue, and then I use Nabi Wool Studio as the two other colors. So there's a green and a pink here, and these were just colors that I dyed for myself, and I had enough in my stash. And I normally don't do knit-alongs, and I normally don't have time to join knit-alongs, but I really wanted to do these mitts, and I learned a new technique. This is the rosamine, and so the floats are outside and form the design, and the two contrast colors are actually never knit in the design here, up here obviously. So they're just floats, and they're held in when you're knitting the rest of it, and you're catching it. So these are my Hylia mitts, which I actually did in time with a knit along. And then quite recently, I think it was just a couple days ago, the Atrium Pullover was released by Yamagara, and this I use Nabi Wool Studio. The main color is speckled yolk. I'm not sure, it's hard to get the color correct. It's more yellow than you're seeing in the screen. And then I use two contrast colors instead of just one. So the horizontal lines are berry smash up, and then the vertical lines I just dyed up quickly for it is a brown. And I felt that when I was crocheting with the berry smash up, the vertical lines were getting way too heavy for me, and it kind of looked clunky. So I wanted a lighter weight yarn, so this was a little bit lighter and formed more of a delicate line. And I did do the crochet detail, and I did elbow sleeves. And I'm not really a crocheter, so I was not sure if I was going to be able to do it, but I did, and I did it in time, which I was surprised. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great top for the spring and even the summer, and I think in the fall I can even wear it with a shirt underneath. And yeah, so this is really beautiful. It's all knit in one piece, seamless. And then this is going to be released, I think next Saturday. This is Between Petals, and this is from Nuts Knitwear. And the main color here is Donna Smith. It's the 2018 clip. And then the contrast color is Nabi Wool Studio. And again, I'm not sure the colors are coming out correctly. So it's really warm, it's really cozy, and I'm really happy with this also. I'm also working on another Nuts Knitwear design. The Orchard Tales test knit is happening right now, and I'll show you my WIP in a second. Let's see if I can find, there it is. So this is again another Nuts Knitwear, a Teti design, and so I've separated the body and the sleeves. So the mane is Garthenor number 2 that I got at EYF, and then the contrast color is Nabi Wool Studio. It's a chunky mohair, and it's the colorway Barely Blush. So that's coming along nicely, and I think that's coming out the end of April, maybe the beginning of May. I'm nearing the end of the ribbing on my body here for the new design from Jen Steingas, and there is no name for this yet, but as you see, it's a beautiful yoke, and it has, so I'm using Mondim as my main Rosa Pomar Mondim in the black, and then I am using holding my mohair after midnight with it, so it has this textured and speckly background. And then the natural color here is Mayak, the Tibetan Cloud, in just the natural colorway. And I am holding, let's see my giant basket here, my mohair with it that I used also on my Andrea Mowry project. I can't remember what it's called. A recent Andrea Mowry. So that is the contrasts, and then the green is also Nabi Wool Studio, the limey colorway. And I am completely in love with the limey colorway, and it's the smallest part of the sweater, but I feel like it really highlights it. So there's that. I'm also doing the test knit for Max the Knitter. I'm a little bit further behind on this one. I still have time. This is Hide and Peak. So the main color that I'm using is this is Jill Draper. It's the Rockwell Mono, and then I have Limey, and then I'm using Mayak as the blue, and the purpley color, the burgundy color, is All You Knit Is Love from Barcelona, and that is an alpaca. So yeah, All You Knit Is Love, and that's that, and there's the Mayak. So that's Hide and Peak. Let's see, I have a whole basket here. Okay, this is not a test knit, but this is just an old WIP that has been hibernating, and I have taken it out of hibernation. And this is the Bee Whisperer sock from Natalie Sheldon of Remembrances Pottery on Instagram. So it's a beautiful sock, and I'm using Nabi Wool Studio. These are non-superwash, no nylon sock yarns that I dyed here, and they were just dyed for me. I didn't dye anything for the shop. So those are my non-secret WIPs that I have and test knits that are going. And I am working on a bunch of other things. I'm doing some sample knits also, so I can't show any of those things. And they're going to be wonderful when they get released. I hope everybody's good where they are. I am getting a little frazzled with this pandemic. It's gone on for a long time, and I really did not think it was going to last this long. And there doesn't seem to be really an end in sight right now. The vaccine rollout here is very, very slow. So hopefully by summer we will all be vaccinated and hopefully discover what the new normal will be. And but otherwise, I'm lucky that the kids are in school. My older son actually has to wear a mask all day. The younger one is not required to wear a mask, but they are doing full schedule, which I think is a big relief. And I know that it must be very rough for all of you guys who do not have your kids in school and are homeschooling. I find this whole pandemic has made us all wear multiple hats. Being a teacher was not, I'm not a homeschooler. I'm not, would never really want to homeschool my own kids. I know other people prefer that perhaps, but I just am not a teacher, and I appreciate what teachers do, and I think it's just my kids are not good with me being their teacher also. So I'm very, very, very lucky that the kids are in school, and the shops reopened again. I think it's it reopened on March 1st, so it's been about 12 days, and I'm not quite sure when the restaurants will actually open up again, but it's good to have the shops open again, and I'm hoping that we will not have to close them down again, and just trying to get through every day basically. And on some days I do better and some days not so great, and I hope that you guys are coping well, and that the vaccines will roll out, or you guys have gotten your vaccines, or you'll get them soon. And I'm ready for normal again, whatever that might be. So let's try to answer some of these things that you guys have asked me to talk about. So how do I get inspired by, or how do I get inspired to pick the colorways that I do for certain projects? That basically is, it's different every time. And a lot of times there's one color that I really, really want to work with, and that kind of dictates what other colors I pick with it. I have the option of using my stash, and I have the option of hand dyeing something that I have in mind. And a lot of times I do hand dye yarns and colorways that I imagine for myself together with something else, or sometimes it's a colorway that I really want to dye up, and then that leads to either picking stuff from my stash or dyeing a couple more colors to create whatever it is, the combinations that I need for my projects. So it's different every time, and sometimes I'm not even conscious of it, but I realize afterwards that I'm in a particular color mood, and I realize my fingernails are painted that color, or I'm wearing a top of that color, or something. But sometimes it's completely, not conscious to me how I got to a certain color or whatever. And sometimes I know it's different every time, so I'm not sure if that was helpful at all. And as far as the projects that I pick for myself to knit, I usually see test knit calls on Instagram, or I get several people that actually send me information of test knits that are coming and ask if I would be interested in joining. So how do I decide between all of these things to join a test knit or to knit something? Sometimes I see something that works with a yarn that I've wanted to use, or a colorway or a color combination that I think would be perfect for it. That's one way I pick projects. Another way is if I see how I can style the garment with the things that I have in my wardrobe, or I see possibilities of the different things I can do with the garment or accessory. So it's how it works in my life, whether it works with my style or it works with colors or yarns that I want to work with. And a lot of times I see designs that come out that there are certain aspects of it that I really like, and then I know for me that I might change the sleeve length or the amount of ease that it tells you that the designer recommends or whatever. I cater to what I know works for me, and I think that is also one of the strong points of one of my strong points is to know what will work for me and what won't. When I go shopping or whatever, or if I pick a knitting project, I know basically what will work with my shape, with my height, with my figure, or whatever, and so I know what to pick from that will look good, or if it's something that I can make to look good on me. And let's see, yarn dyeing, and how did I start yarn dyeing? Well, I've been a knitter for a while, and I moved to Zurich from New York, and in New York, back when I was living there, the world was very... knitting was at a high point, I think, when I was living there, or right before I moved, and there were lots of yarn shops, and so it was really great that you could actually go to a lot of different wonderful yarn shops that were in New York, and in the States I kind of felt I had access to almost every single type of yarn. It's not difficult for me to get anything, and hand dyeing was very, very big, so you can get hand dyed yarns really easily, and there was so much to pick from, and it was just maybe overwhelming sometimes. But when I moved here to Zurich, the hand dyers or hand dyed yarns is not as big here. Certain types of yarn is not as big here. For me, it was very difficult to find anything other than their commercial brands that they were carrying. And everybody carries the same stuff, the Lang yarns, and some like German sock yarns and stuff like that. So I've found it very difficult to pick colors that I would use, or fibers that I would use. I tend to only knit non-superwash yarns, although the Atrium, most of it is in superwash. So I prefer to have woolly wools, and I preferred hand-dyed yarns for the most part. I mean, there are some projects that I think absolutely look great in a commercial dyed solid, no variegation yarn, but I like to have some sort of texture, whether it's in the color or in the actual yarn itself. So I found that that was really missing for me, and since I was an art director in New York, color is really something that I'm comfortable with and I really enjoy. And I think that's part of the reason why I really enjoy knitting and yarn so much, is all the different colors, and it really is like candy for me. So I really wanted to basically make what I felt was missing. And I've been doing that a lot since I moved here. I used to not cook really that much when I was living in New York. I was working full time and didn't really have time to cook the way I always did major cooking during holidays, but daily I was not really cooking. And here I am cooking every meal pretty much, and there are lots of foods that I was missing. So I learned to make all those things. I even made my own peanut butter, and so it's just filling something that's missing for me here. And this way I can create the yarns that I want to knit with and the colors that I want to knit with. And then also offer it to anybody else that might be interested in these yarns and these colors. And that is how Nubby Wool Studio was born. How do I knit so many projects at the same time? I like to have a bunch of things on my needles. It also, I feel, helps with my hands and my arms, the different weights and the different techniques involved. So I'm not doing the same repetitive movement quite exactly the same, I guess. I mean, we're still knitting, I'm still doing the same sort of movements, but I feel like with the different weights of yarn and different techniques involved, I'm switching things up, so it helps a little bit. And so, and maybe also I feel that I do have a little bit of a hard time sticking to just one thing, and sometimes in the mood to do color work, sometimes I need something just mindless that's stockinette or garter, and so I pick the projects I have on the needles accordingly to the mood, and also according to deadline. But I like to have a bunch of things on my needles. Sometimes I will work on something pretty much for a few days exclusively, but usually I try to do a little bit of everything. I wouldn't say every day, but I like to keep things going, and so I sort of have that thing where I'm making progress, and then all of a sudden I have a bunch of FOs to show, and it looks like I've knit up a storm, but in actuality I've had everything going the entire time. Let's see what else. And my dyeing is a very, very small batch. I only have this one thing that I use to dye my yarn, so it's literally one thing at a time, and yeah, it's very hands-on, small batch. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm missing the words that I'm trying to get in my head, but it's not coming out. But anyway, it is a very small batch thing, and so in the beginning when I first started dyeing, I really, and I still do, like to just go with it as I'm working, where I might start off with an idea of a color that I might want, and sometimes while I'm dyeing I see a possibility and I change whatever it might be that I originally started off wanting to dye. But it's very much a process instead of sitting down, writing a recipe and cranking it out. I find that it's really a creative thing for me. So in the beginning I only had one-time yarns, and the colorways were not repeatable. Now there are a couple colorways that I do have that are repeatable, and I do find that it's more enjoyable for me to knit, to create colors as I go, and sometimes, and it's funny because a lot of times I am creating something that I think, well, I'm not going to write this down because I'm never going to do it again, and no one ever will be interested in seeing this color except for me. And funny enough, those are the colors that seem to actually be more popular. And so with a couple of things, I've been able to recreate it from memory or knowing how the colors mix to come up with what it was that I created that I didn't write down. But I like to just go and throw colors in and mix and whatever, and writing it down slows me down and makes it more of a chore. But I'm trying to be better about it, and I'm trying to be able to make more of something if someone actually wants a sweater's quantity or several sweaters quantities or whatever it might be. So but it is very small batch. And let's see what else you guys have. I'm reading, so if this looks funny. There's a bunch of kids outside. Okay, so making time to craft and test knitting. This is something I've taken on, and I am never sitting still, and so I make an effort to make time to knit whenever I can, and whether it's waiting for something to boil, standing online, watching the news or a podcast or a movie or whatever it is, I am knitting, and I carry it with me. I've tried walking and knitting. I'm not so good at it. Stephen West is great at it, but I'm not so good at it. One day I hope to perfect that, because that will also really add more knitting time for me. And yeah, I do every once in a while wish that knitting could be a little bit more active, but what can you do? So I make time for myself to knit by fitting it in whenever I can, and I wish I could make more time to craft, because knitting is not the only thing that I enjoy. I enjoy spinning, which I am now making an effort again to do a little bit every day. When I first started spinning, I was spinning like crazy and cranking out yarn almost daily, and but now the knitting has come back full force, and it always does. And but I still enjoy spinning, and I find it very relaxing. And it also is helpful to give my hands a little bit of a rest and change in movement. And I tried doing some hand quilting, and I really enjoyed that also. But my knitting schedule, because of the test knits and sample knits, is really on a schedule. So it takes first. It's in the first place, basically, in my list of things to do. And so it's harder for me to fit in the other things. And if I could, I would learn how to do pottery, I would learn how to make furniture, I would learn how to do a bunch of other things. I just cannot make that much time for everything, but I do make sure that I get something in, whether it's just knitting or something else. What else can we talk about? I guess that's good for now, right? I hope. It was good to be back for a little bit. I hope that I will now again be on my spree that I was on before this break, but I will be back soon. And yeah, there is the kids actually have quite a few days off coming up, so it's just going to be a little bit more difficult. But I just wanted to pop in and say hello, and hope that you guys are all doing well, and that I am glad to be part of this community. And I hope that you guys comment, and we'll talk soon. Be well. Bye.